Welcome and what's up if you're new to my channel where I geek out all about metal. I hope that you guys have had a really lovely week and that everything is as good as it can be given the current circumstances. Perhaps one of the greatest bands to come out of Sweden in a long list of absolutely fantastic bands are Katatonia. A group that does melancholy in high definition. The band have at long last returned from their hiatus and now in 2020 have got an offering which quite literally could be one of their strongest in a very, very long time in the form of City Burials.
Rivers rush behind the blood. The cinder skies come alive with this drop of sunset.
Now on their 11th studio album, you could forgive Katatonia for potentially hitting a few creative roadblocks, but it seems that the band are literally forging straight ahead with their brand new album. Following on from the more prog-oriented The Fall of Hearts, it seems that on City Burials, the band have really opted for a more metallic sound. There are times when things get a little bit more simple, but have a serious amount of impact. And a great example of that is on Behind the Blood, where the band do simplify things, but the riff is so strong, it has such a power behind it. The drums are played with some serious conviction, which allows songs like The Winter of Our Passing to really hit that four to the floor feel. And there's even sections where there's double pedal that they've put in, and it's not necessarily all over the album, but sporadically, and it does make a change from that sort of sleepier, more melancholic sound that the band are known for. And a huge change, I think, on this album is how much Roger Ojason, the new guitarist who previously used to be in Tiamat, is really used, but not only used, but complements the band's sound really, really well. His character is definitely put forward when there's this amazing shred solo which is on Behind the Blood. But then Ojason is just as at home playing something which is a lot more atmospheric and a bit slower, such as on Flicker, or the album's final track, Untrodden. Yet this time, Katatonia also experiment even further with progressive time signatures as well. Bass definitely plays a bigger role in this as well, as seen on Neon Epitaph, but also on Flicker, and it has a bit more of a clangy sound, which coupled together with that sense of power really does make for a lot more impact. And whilst the album may contain a traditional prog thread, there are also more minimalist ideas that are being explored on here, such as the incorporation of electronics and also keyboards. It's a clever trick as seen on Lacquer and Lachesis, which on the surface may seem simple, but when you actually go down into it, you can see so many more intricacies in the actual songwriting itself. Keyboards, I think, are also really assimilated into the band's sound on this one and don't really seem like a bit of an extra. And despite all this experimentation, there's not 1 second of this album which doesn't feel genuine like Katatonia. When it comes to melancholy, there is no competition than Jonas Renkse. Jonas experiments with different vocal delivery on this album, but also vocal melodies as well, as he pushes his voice even further on single Lacquer. But the thing is that even though he's experimenting, it doesn't bring away from that sense of detachment that I think is a real signature part of his vocals. And with lyrics, he's able to create the most abstract ideas to be really tangible and have this relative sadness that allows it to be independent of time or experience. There are also some great interplay between his vocals and the female vocals of Annie Bernhard from Full of Keys, which comes in on Vanishes. And City Glaciers also creates that sense of vulnerability that has always been such a big draw for me in Jonas's vocals. Although it may not necessarily be rewriting any rulebooks per se, it rewrites Katatonia's as an album that not only pushes the band sound forward, but does it in a quintessentially authentic fashion. So I hope you guys enjoyed this album review. Let me know what you think in the comments as well. I've also got my Instagram, which you can follow, which is @themetaltris. And I will see you guys very, very soon for another album review. Alright, take care my friends.